I like wine. Okay. I know what.
Oh. Because you and Hey guys, welcome back to this week's episode of You Up to My Yap, the podcast where you listen to a 20-something-year-old figure herself out. I'm Erica Star, and today I'm here with
Zay.
And we're just going to get right into it with the newest question that I've been asking at the beginning of my podcast. What's been clouding up or taking space in your mind for the past 2 weeks recently?
Wow.
Yeah, we're get right into it.
Wow. I'm going to have to say really prioritizing other people. I think prioritizing other people, it's not a bad thing, but when you get caught up in trying to take care of other people's lives, you get lost in your own. And so for me, having that reality check, that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I actually have to step back. I have to remove myself from this and not necessarily isolate myself, but make sure that I'm okay. Make sure that I'm in a place where I'm able to care for those when that time is right to serve those or be there for my friends or family, I can do that. But the past couple of weeks, even within a month, it's been one of those things where I'm like, okay, like this is actually overwhelming. And now I'm like I'm drowning in my thoughts. And I think another thing is because I've been prioritizing or making time for others, I've been in a place where I'm ignoring certain thoughts that I know I need to actually deal with. Because with these are thoughts that are like, okay, like if I ignore it now, it's going to come up later in a place that I don't want it to be, where I'm like I could be in a great season, but because I've ignored these voices or these thoughts, now these thoughts are like coming up, and I'm like, why now? When I should have dealt with it back then. So now I'm just in a place where just prioritizing myself, and I like to say living in silence.
So what does prioritizing yourself look like?
So for me, right now, it's understanding. I'm about to get deep, but understanding why I'm placed on this planet, why I'm placed on this earth. What's my purpose? What's my passion? What's my goal? I have so many passions, and I can probably speak for a lot of people. A lot of people, they have so many things that they want to do, but it's like, what is that one thing that like, okay, like this is number one, I seek this, and as I go for this, everything else will come after, will evolve around that. And so for me, it's sitting with myself, sitting and just my reality. Okay, like where are we? Like how are our finances? How is our mental health? For me, how is my time with God? All of these things are important. And if I'm not taking the time, or if I'm not making sure that this is where these things are where I want it to be, it can take me out. I can get, especially living in New York City, you can get so caught up in just how other people are doing, like going out, like there's foods, restaurants, so many things that you want to do. But I think it's important, specifically like for us in our 20s, it's so easy to just want to go out and have fun and do these things. But if we're actually taking the time to like, okay, that's always going to be there. But what are some things that I can do now in my life that will set me up for when I'm like 30 or, honestly, I would say like taking one for the team, where it's like, okay, I'm going to have to miss out on some fun things. I'm going to have to miss out on some and really figure out what I'm doing with myself and who am I, right? Because I think that's a question that we ask ourselves a lot of times is, who am I? And specifically with social media, like TikTok, you can be so invested in other people's lives. So that's another thing, is prioritizing my time on social media. So I've been off social media for a bit. And if I'm on it, I limit myself. It's having that discipline, which is difficult. I ain't gonna sit here and say it's not. It's difficult.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the moment you start scrolling,
Start doom scrolling.
you locked in.
Yeah.
You know, but I think having that self-awareness, like, okay, like I'm scrolling too much right now. What are some things I can be feeling that's going to actually benefit me right now? So, honestly, making things, prioritizing things that are benefiting me in the best way possible. That's going to keep my mental space healthy, my spirit filled, and just keep that joy. You know.
Interesting. No, I feel like I actually just sent a voice note to my friend the other day where I was telling her, I was like, I think I'm like hermiting again. And I don't even know if that's a word, but when you're a hermit crab, you know?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I was just like, I think I'm hermiting. And she knew what I meant. And because I actually went through the reverse when I had first moved out. I was in this thing where I was like, listen, like I worked as hard as I did to get to this point. Everything that I did up until the age of 22 was so that I can move out. And I was busting my ass, working hard all the time. And then I decided that once I moved out, like I got what I wanted. I was like, let me for once just sit in something that's great and just like enjoy it, because I have a really bad habit of like, okay, what's the next thing? Like I need to do better. And that goes back to like, being in New York, and you always have to be on to the next thing, or like you said, or whatever's just going to set you up for, greatness later. And so I took that year and I did exactly what you said. Like I was just like, we only get to be young once, and you're going to go out and, you got to be 20 something at least once. So I did that. And like after the year ended, I was like, all right, back to business. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. And I feel like life is just like kind of going through waves of that, like learning how to sit in your successes, but also learning when to like snap out of it and get back to business. Because even for me, I realized, like going back to what I had said earlier, like I've been on like my hermit crab kind of stuff when it comes to, especially like even with this podcast, like starting it, like my weekends aren't my weekends anymore. And like life is still happening even when, you're doing your own thing. So it's like I'm doing my podcast and I have friends writing me like, oh, let's do a girls' night, or like, oh, like I have a gig at this club, like come by. And as much as I want to go and as much as I want to say yes and all that, I'm just kind of like, no, like I've got something I'm working on. And this is really important to me right now. And I think one of the most important things with that is having friends who understand that. Yes. Like nobody that I've told that to has said like, man, like, fuck you. Yeah, man. Like, it's always been just like, you know what? Like, I'm actually really proud of you for sticking to this. And it's like, is it really? Then I feel like extra shitty because I'm like, I wish I could have been there for you. Like, that's so nice of you. But yeah, I think having healthy friends that allow you to go through those phases and that they'll still be there once you're done, I think that's really important to have.
Yes, 100%. I love that. I love the fact that, it's go do your thing. This is what you've been talking about. And you've been talking about it for a minute. Yeah. Like, honestly, like it's kind of just now clicking to me that we're like sitting here doing this. Like, you've been talking about it for a minute, and it's like, and I think it's you allowing yourself, knowing when the time was right to do it and then actually executing it. And I think also having those friends that been like seen from when it was just a thought to you actually constantly like saying, man, I want to do a podcast. And then now you're doing it. It shows a lot. It would be actually selfish for a friend to be like, hey, actually, you're actually spending too much time doing that. Yeah. It would be very selfish of them, because if you know Erica, she's someone who gives a lot of herself to her friends, and she's there for her friends. And anyone who's watching that knows Erica knows that for a fact. And so it's one of those things where it's like, now actually do what you want to do. Yeah. And I think that's honestly one of the best friends and one of the best relationships you can have, because knowing is like, life does not, when you make life about yourself, like, and understanding like, your friends also have their own lives as well. So it's like, if you're upset that they can't do something, or if they know that you're both are living separate lives, and it's one of those things where it's like, your life does not evolve around them, and their lives does not evolve around you, which is why we make time for each other, which is why we reach out and be like, hey, like, are you free this day? Are you free that day? Why? Because throughout any other day, we're figuring out life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, especially, and like I said, like I love that this is specifically for 20-year-olds because it's tough. You know, like so often you can get so lost. And I love that you said like hermiting. I'm going to start using that. You know, like that's real. I think that's where I was this past month in a place where I'm like, kind of like not being around a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, and specifically for me, where someone who just like who has an influence within my church community is it's like wherever I step and there's people from church, they know me because I've spent so much of my life there. So it's like, Zay, Zay, Zay. And I'm like, sometimes it can be so overwhelming. Sometimes it's like, man, like I love that I'm loved, but like this is actually overwhelming. I have to take some time away. Because also you can get so caught up in that and be like, yeah, I'm that guy. Like, yeah. You know, like people know me. Like, it's just like, and it's just, and that can be very dangerous. That can be so dangerous because then now you're surrounding your identity and how people know you and the amount of people that know you. And so for me, I had to get into that hermiting phase. We're gonna start using that hermiting phase, and really just figure out, okay, who am I?
Yeah.
You know, and since then, like living in silence, it is one of the best. Like, I'm not saying isolate yourself, but I'm saying give yourself time to just enjoy what you're creating and what you're doing for yourself. Because like, if you're so quick to, you know, if something happens and you're so quick to tell a friend, like that's not a bad thing. But also, you want yourself to have time to enjoy that for yourself as well. Like, I'm trying to think of some moments for me, but like I just know that within this month it was frustrating, but it was also beautiful because I've been able to like really like enjoy like what I've been able to process and the work that I put in this season and in this phase has really been beautiful. And like when I go to church or if I go hang around friends, even my closest friends, like these are things that I'm like I have not like what I'm experiencing, I have not told them because it's like at some point, yeah, we could talk about it. But right now, like I'm in a place where I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times you'll be able to find that peace, you know, in what you're doing because like you don't want other people's voices to clash with yours or clash with what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and then now next thing you know, you're feeling insecure. You know, you're feeling like, oh man, like, oh, maybe actually, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I shouldn't have said that. And you don't want to be in a place of that. And so I love that you have those friends that are there to support you in this season, specifically, you know, in your hermiting phase. You know, it's not easy, but it's good to at least have that one person.
Yeah, and even that's crazy you say that last note because I was gonna say for me, like I wanna like you had said, like, you know, it's not bad to always tell your friends everything. And you know me, I'm the type that with some of my friends, like something crazy happens, whatever, I'm just like, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what just happened, you know? But there's also like, I don't know. It's a really good feeling when you spend enough time by yourself to like understand who you are and be really strong in your beliefs. And it doesn't mean to be stubborn. It doesn't mean to be, you know, just like, oh, I'm right and everyone else is wrong. But like knowing what you believe 100%, like just like kind of sitting with yourself, reflecting, being alone and just kind of being like, where do my thoughts go when they have no direction? And you just, you know, want to see where it goes and stuff. And I feel like the one person that I have that I can talk to all the time, and I feel like even if like, how do I say this? The one person that I talk to all the time that I can speak to and still feel like my thoughts are my own because she just kind of lets me be is my mom. Like she's the person that like I could talk to her all the time and be like, oh, well, nobody knows my business because she doesn't count.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, like she just lets me bounce stuff off of her and she 100% lets me have my own opinions. And I know that there are a lot of times that she's like, oh, this homegirl is tripping, you know, but she lets me be. Like I know like with friends, and it's a natural thing. Like you give your own opinion or you give your own experiences and you bounce things off of each other. But my mom she just kind of soaks in everything that I say. And then she just uses that to help me make decisions later. Like she'll be like, oh, well, you did this last time. Or like you thought this last time. Or I figured you'd do that because, you know, X, Y, and Z kind of thing. Like it's never been a thing where she tries to influence my decisions as much as I would like her to.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm coming to her to be like, tell me what the right thing to do is. And she's like, Erica, you are a grown adult and you're going to make your own decisions. But sometimes you just, and I think that's it's like a cop out, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, neither did I at your age. Like, figure it out.
And I love that. And it's like literally like allowing your loved ones to make the mistakes or figure it out on their own. Because it's like, we don't, like, the thing is, and that's the thing, is like, you don't always have the answers. You know, you don't always have the answers. And I love that. Like, your mom is like, hey, look, you're an adult. When I was your age, I didn't know either. Like,
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, and I think mom is always going to be there to give wisdom and advice to things. But it's like, there's also like, there's a level of like, I wouldn't love you if I didn't let you like figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Because you learn a lot from like figuring things out.
100%.
You know?
Because I like one thing I kind of, I want to say it like this, but I kind of can't stand parents who think that telling all of their experiences is going to teach their kid like what the right thing to do is. Because until your kid is in that situation, they don't know themselves what they're going to do. You can listen to all the stories from your parents. I've heard all the crazy stories from both of my parents. And maybe on some occasions I've ended up in situations similar, even though they've told me all the stories that are, you know, very similar to the way that I'm living. I'm just like, well, I had to screw up myself. And now I know that I'm going to, you know, rant to my kids and say the same thing. They're not going to listen, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that on parenting. I can go on all day about that because I have a few messed up friends from messed up parents.
Oh, I mean, hello, I'm one of them right here. You know what I'm saying? But I will say like there's beauty in it. Like I've been able to like see the beautiful side of you know, growing up from the way that I did grow up. And like, cause I didn't have a father. My mom, you know, she had her struggles, you know, like with drugs and everything. So like growing up, it wasn't a typical house, you know, it wasn't a typical home. All my siblings, you know, they were hustling and trying to make sure we had food. And so it's like dealing with these things and see where I'm at now. I'm so grateful. And I'm just like, but the beautiful thing is I've been able to know what it feels like to be at the bottom. And to be where I'm at, I can use that experience to now help others. I can use that experience to teach others and show others. And kind of like you said, it's like, you can tell someone your experience, but you have to let them like go through that as well. But I think what you can do is with your experiences, you can also protect those loved ones. You can be there how you can, because the reality is they have free will. They can do whatever they want. I mean, as long as to my kids, when you watch this, if you're in my house, my rules is my rules, but you know what I'm saying?
Anybody else's kids though.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like until you like grow up and you're able to like live on your own and deal with your own issues, and like I'm gonna still be there and support, you know, but like I love those movies. I love movies where Outer Banks, for example. I don't know if the show Outer Banks. One thing I love is Kiki, when anytime, like she had her mom and her dad, and anytime she was out with her friends and they did something and she had her parents worried, one thing that like really stuck with me is that no matter how many times she like went out and came back home, anytime she came back home, her parents was so like open arms. They're so loving, receiving to, I mean, honestly, any actor that had parents in their role, they were just able to I'm just glad you're okay. And I think that's one of those things where it's like with loved ones, it's like they're gonna go out and do what they want to do. But as long as they know that they have someone that receives them and that loves them, and honestly, like gonna talk their ears off and tell them like, look, that ain't the way that's going. But it's always when you tell them someone don't do something, they gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you gonna warn someone, you know, just be sure to like when they get back, you know, have that love and wisdom to get them to the next point of their lives,
Yeah, because even like, because I've had that moment like a ton of times with my parents. My parents adore me. Shout out to you guys. But like, no, because I've messed up. Like when I was, what was it? When I was 17, I got into my first and only fist fight. And make sure I say only because I'm not like that.
Erica's a fighter.
But like, my mom found out and my dad found out, and they were just like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they were just like, what is going on?
Erica?
Yeah, like, but at the same time, my mom was like, I was 17. Like, so she was just like, I get it, been there, done that, but come on, man. Like, I got to deal with it now.
Yeah, yeah.
And then my dad was just more so concerned about, like, who do I have to handle? Like, like, he was just being a dad.
Dad, yep.
Yeah. And I think, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say I didn't have any fears about them finding out, but I knew that if they found out, or I knew that they would 100%. But it was just more a thing of like, I had to explain this.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. Cause it's just, I know that they would understand. I knew that they would get it. I knew that like the world wasn't going to end. Like, I don't know. Like my mom has always made it very clear, like you're going to mess up. You're going to screw up.
Yep.
You're not going to do anything you haven't either done or thought of.
Yeah.
My dad's the same way. My dad's like, listen, man, I'm the king of mistakes.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I get it. Like, for me with my parents, like, with my mom, I've kind of been an open book for, like, a while. I think probably starting at, like, the age of, like, I want to say 16-ish. Like, I started just kind of letting her into everything.
Okay.
And then my dad, it was after he found out the worst thing he could find out about your daughter.
Yep.
That after that, I was like, what else is there to hide?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Come on. So, like, now I tell him things, and I think he's actually gotten to a point where he wants to know less. Because, like, I'll tell him something like, you wouldn't believe what happened. And then he hears the context of, like, where I was, who I was with. And he's like,
actually,
was that, like, necessary information? Like, I think I would have rather not known that. But for me, I'm like, what? You're my dad.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What?
Safe space.
Yeah. So I think I'm just grateful that they've given me that space. And I feel like a lot of people in their 20s aren't like close to their parents. Like I know a lot of people say I'm abnormally close to my parents, but I think that's great. Like these are the people who made me. These are the people who are like genetically, are closest to me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I know that that's the only place I'm gonna get unconditional love from. I can screw up as many places as many times as I want to. Not that I want to, but I will because I'm a human.
Yeah.
And they do not care. They just care that I'm healthy, that I have groceries in my fridge, and that I'm alive, and just that I'm doing well. I don't get mushy with them because like if I got mushy with them, I would cry. But I know I've always been grateful that I've always had like these two people in my life who just like absolutely no matter what, if I were to go homeless, I'm not homeless. If I were to go broke, I'm not broke. No matter what happens, like I'm good.
Yeah.
And very few people can say that.
Yep.
And shout out to my step parents too, love you guys because I have 4 parents because my step parents love me as much as my parents do. And that's another thing a lot of people don't have. A lot of people have the Cinderella story with like the stepmother who hates them or whatever, or like the stepdad who just like can't stand their kid, the stepkids or whatever, or don't claim the kid. Like I've never had that. Like my step parents full on, if you ask them how many kids they have, I'm included in the number. Like it's been that way. Like Christmases never felt like the lonely outcast. Like it's been really nice. Like that's one thing I can always say I've gotten lucky with. So I love my parents and my bonus parents.
Yeah, no, honestly, I mean that is such a blessing, and I love that. I love that for you, because when you said that, like a lot of people say that it's abnormal the relationship that you have with I actually say that that's the normal way you should have a relationship with your parents. But I think because of the way that society is conditioned and how we are conditioned with, if the information that we do on our own and like away from our parents, and also like our parents they grew up in a different generation, so it's always like, oh, my parents wouldn't understand me. It's like actually no, they probably actually would understand you more than you think. It's just and to hear that, it's like, oh man, like that's literally it. Because I want my kids to have that. You know what I'm saying? I want my kids to be able to come to me. They're not going to come to me about everything, but I want them to be comfortable enough to come to me about what's on their heart or what's on their mind. And guess what? I'm going to be right there and be there for them in any way I can, whether it's verbally, physically. I'm going to be that support, and to have that support from your parent. And it's crazy because so I know I mentioned me growing up, mom and then dad not being around, but I've been very fortunate to be adopted, and that's been a blessing. And for context, it's a long story, but I was adopted about 3-4 years ago. And y'all like, well, Zay, you damn near look 40. But so I was adopted by my youth parents, and I've known them since I was 15. But what's crazy is while I was the year 2020, they reached out to me, 2021, they reached out to me and it was like, Zay, we felt on our hearts that, God is calling us to adopt you. And I was like, well, I'm 21. I'm going on 21.
Yeah.
You know me since I was 15, when I needed it. But I thought long on it, and I realized, that this, it was a blessing for me, but, I also so now I have 5 younger siblings. And for me, it was more for them, because we all grew up in New York City. Our adopted parents, they grew up totally different from us. They're from Georgia. But I knew that they needed me. And so that whole process was for me to be there for them. What I say is, now I'm kind of I'm so trying to figure out, man, not figuring out, but I'm starting now to understand love, but from family, that, from, what I'm saying? So it's when you hearing you say this, the love that you receive from your mom, from your dad, from your step parents, that's love. And I think for me, I was not conditioned to receive love in that way. So now that I'm in a place where I'm able to receive it, it is so hard. Because some people can relate to this maybe. It's where you don't really know what love looks like. And not necessarily love from a romantic point of view, but love. What is unconditional love?
Yeah, to be cared for.
Yes. Yeah. And so, for me, I've actually would do as much as I can to push them away. Because I'm bro, this is not normal for me. What is this?
Yeah.
And then what's scary is that when you're in that space of I'm pushing them away, a part of you don't want to push them away because you want it, but you're what am I doing? And and that's because of just how unwired and wired we grew up. Is for me, I had to grow. I had to survive on my own.
Yeah.
I had to really figure out oh man, and although I had my siblings, they were also figuring out on their own as well. So it's we couldn't really be a support system for each other because we're trying to figure our lives, and my biological siblings, and I have 8 biological siblings. And I'm the very last one. So I went from the last one to the oldest. Mm-hmm. So it's how do you go from the youngest sibling to now the oldest sibling of 5, and then now they look up to you, but you over here trying to figure your life out.
Yeah, you're used to being the one that knows nothing.
Yeah.
And now you're supposed to be the one that knows everything.
And it's and I tell them all the time, I don't know what I'm doing. But what love looks like is them saying, Zay, you don't have to know it. I'm just glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Your presence is everything. Mm-hmm. That for me, it's wow, I've never had
the fact that they say that is crazy enough.
Yeah, right.
That they acknowledge that in that way.
Child, if y'all watching, I love y'all. But it's so crazy. I mean, even from friends. Mm-hmm. We're just oh my God. Yeah. I know you've, I'm sure it's a couple things. It's bro, even for me, asking for money was it was such an insecurity. I mean, asking in general was an insecurity. And I think a lot of times people don't know how to ask because they feel weak. But I'm gonna tell you right now, asking for something, you are not weak for asking. If you need something, ask. It's all about having that level of trust, within that person. And and I've had so many people tell me that's say, I'm so glad you have that trust in me to even come to me and ask me. right? And then it's like, I did not hesitate. Like, that's why I gave it right away. And so now it's like, wow, like I'm in a position where I don't have to go broke, right? I don't I don't have to be homeless, right? I don't like all of these things. Like I'm experiencing now what you're experiencing at such a later age that like you would think that, okay, I actually have to, you got in the age that you think you have to figure out on your own. The reality is you don't have to figure out on your own. If anything, you learn from what you're figuring out, from the things that you're figuring out. And I just want to say, like, yeah, that word love, like I didn't realize like it's strong, but everyone seeks it in some sort of fashion. But when you actually have it from like the people that you consider like family or that core foundation, you don't need to find it anywhere else. It kind of like comes to you at that point.
Yeah, actually, because I went through this weird like phase. Like, so I lost a bunch of friends in like 2017 over whatever nonsense has happened. And then, I went into college. College was like chill, it was calm, but like it wasn't like a making friends kind of space. Then we go through a pandemic. So for me, I went through a ton of years, well, at least it felt like it, where I wasn't in a space to make friends. Like it's either I'm focusing on finishing school, taking 6 classes a semester just because I want to finish early. I'm going through a pandemic. Like I said this before in another podcast, I was super neurotic and I would just like, didn't want to touch anybody, look at anybody. If you spoke to me too close, I was just going to freak out.
Yeah.
And then, then I feel like with that, I got like a little like socially awkward. I feel like my vocabulary isn't as high as it should be. Like it's just a bunch of stuff. And I went through this weird thing. I'm just like, am I going to like be able to function in the real world and make friends? Like they, like, I don't know if you've heard about like, how everybody needs like a third place. Like people, like they have school, they have work, and then they have, like the third, I think it's school and work are the main ones, the first two.
And it's like that one
and then
place.
The third one is just the place that you go to that it's just kind of like a leisurely place and you build a community there and that's just, it's your third place. For me personally, it's the gym.
Okay.
Like that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the place you go to where it feels like school, where it's like, if you don't go, people notice if you're absent. If you're not there for a while, people are like, oh my God, like someone's going to check in on you. So I feel like when I had started going to the gym and like I finally started making friends at the gym, that was something that where I was like, okay, wow, like adult friendships, like how do these work? Because that's different because everyone's going through something different. You're not going to the gym at the same time. You're not hanging out. Everyone has different work schedules. Like adult friendships, they're super hard to like navigate. And it's like, unless you put an effort, it's not going to work. Even like you and I, we couldn't see each other. Well, it was like, oh, you busy? And it's like, are you busy this weekend? You were like, yeah, I'm busy this one. And we scheduled a day out 4 weeks later, all for me to be sick on the day that we were supposed to hang out. So, like it's hard, but it's like, the thing is we both had it scheduled in our calendars to the point that we knew the day before to be like, oh, hey, like I can't make it kind of thing. So I feel like as I've gotten older and I've made the adult friendships that I'm finally seeing like what it means to have like successful adult friendships. Cause you got to go through a bunch that fail and that you're just kind of like, oh, I thought we could have been good friends. Like, that one went sour. I don't know how that happened. Like you're going through all these friendships. And I think for me, like to be able to say I have a best friend at 24 is so weird.
Wow.
Like, you know what? Like it's odd. Like it feels so kiddie, but it's like you need that. Like, I feel like that's what keeps you young. That's what keeps you like alive and excited. It's like having the friendship that feels like you met them when you were in middle school, but having it as an adult and being just as silly and stupid and just full of nonsense, Like I found that at my gym. Shout out to Molly. Because I know she's watching this like, who is she talking about? But it's like super sweet. Like she made me brownies one time and dropped them off at the gym. And I was just like, why'd you do that? Yeah. Like, it's the equivalent to like a friendship bracelet in kindergarten. Yes. I was just like, you're gonna eat brownies? Like, I didn't even ask you to. Like
brownies.
And they're good. Like I was just like,
I want some brownies, Molly.
Yeah, they're good. Next time I do something, she'll probably make them. But yeah, so to be able to say that as an adult, like, because that part where you said like feeling love from friends, it's like it's not, I don't want to call it, well, yeah, it's love, but like to feel warm, like that kind of warmth from someone who isn't family, who you're not expecting it from, who like, because like it from someone who, if they didn't express that, you're not mad about it. You're just like, no, like we're two adults, and it's like, like you're not my mom. I'm not here expecting you to care for me and love me, but you do anyways. I didn't have to tell you to. So that's always nice.
It's funny because As you're talking about like best friends, I'm like literally thinking of mine. Shout out to Allie and Dorian. Havana.
Whatever that means between you guys. Like,
Oh, we have this thing, just like how old heads be talking to each other, because we have like these old head impersonations. But I think of every time I think like those are those people like when you think of, you just immediately start laughing, and because it's like you share so much, like you share those memories and just those moments where it's like, bro, like we don't even have to do anything.
yeah.
We can just be around each other and like that's enough, and for me, like that's so important to have, like, because especially specifically in this city, like you have those people who like, what are we doing it's like,
What's the word? Where are we out to?
Yeah, and I'm like
nowhere. We're here watching movies on the couch.
and that is,
Bro, me and you did that one time. We were supposed to go out.
Oh yeah.
And then we ended up watching Disney movies on the couch, knocked out with my dog.
Yep.
Why were we were not supposed to go out. Why was my dog? I don't know what was going on.
Oh,
Right? Like,
it was when I was casting it.
Random story time.
Okay.
We had a crazy storm on December 23rd.
Wow.
And I remember I was going around on my electric scooter.
Oh,
that
it
was my
brick
thing.
too.
No, the wind was insane. So I'm committed to going, like, because I don't go out often. But I was like, no, it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Something's happening.
Yeah.
Something's popping off. Let's go. So I'm ready, like all done up. Lip liner, everything, hair done, with my nice little pants, a shirt that I wore for the first time. I was hyped. I was ready to go.
She was looking good, y'all.
Yeah, I was cha. And so I get to his place, and what was it? I ordered tacos because I was like, I need to eat before we go out. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't order tacos. You were like, yeah, order tacos. So I ordered tacos, I think on the way there, so that they'd be there around the time that I get there. But on the way there, I almost died 3 times, bro. Because I'm going on a scooter, and the fastest it can go is like maybe 18 miles per hour.
Okay.
And with the wind, it only let me go 10.
Ooh.
And so I'm going pretty slow.
Yeah.
And the wind is going. So I got knocked over on my side several times.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, it was the absolute worst. I was like, Erica, why do you want to go out so bad? But I was just like, no, I could do this. I could do it. And my fingers, I'm trying to text you like I'm on my way. Bro, they were freezing because when you're on a scooter, even though it was only 10 miles per hour, the wind and everything, and my hands were like, I felt like Jack in the Titanic when he was holding onto the board.
So I know.
So, yeah, that's a little side story time. I get there, I eat the tacos, and then we start watching a movie, and I was like, I'm asleep.
Yeah.
And that was that.
I tell you what, when she walked in, she didn't look like what she been through. Because that's my first time hearing you got knocked down.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to tell you that, because I'm not that friend, because I wouldn't want to show up and be like, I almost died on the way here because of you.
Yeah.
I hate those people.
Oh, fair.
So I'm telling you now. But that is what happened.
My bad. But it's one of those things where, like, I mean, and even like for me, like that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I like wine. Okay, I know what.
Because you and
she knows, y'all.
he gets silly.
Oh
He gets
yeah,
real silly when he drinks, and all he needs is one.
I mean, but it's even stuff like that, like just relaxing and just watching a movie. You don't always got to go out all the time. Like, in fact, I think that's why people, I think that's why people, get so caught up in just like identity crisis or just trying to like search for love in so many areas, because like when you find that like one or two friends, you have, especially in New York, you actually, a party is like, I want more. Mm-hmm. And so you go out and you try to like build that social, circle, but it's like the best circles are the small ones. Mm-hmm. The best friend circles are the ones that are small, where it's like, actually, we don't got to do nothing. And friends that also understand, like, okay, even though we have plans and it didn't work out, like, that's okay, as long as we're together.
Yeah.
I think those are the most valuable friendships that you can have and steward like the right way. I'm over here using Christian talk. So steward is something that anything that is given to you, anything that is in your possession, you take care of it. And so for me, it's like I'm going to take care of my friendships and you know, love them well and take care of it as the best way I can and enjoy one another. Like my boy, you know, LK, you know, before we got on here and he was on the phone, like he's one of those dudes where I go to his houses and meet him and my boy Shay and we just and the thing is they're like heavy on like computer engineering, they're engineers, and so they're always like locked in and working. I'm that friend. When I walk in, we having a good time. Y'all better stop what y'all doing. I ain't got time for y'all to be on y'all laptops.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be on technology, we gonna have fun. I'm that like immediate pause for them, where like if I'm not around them, they're probably just like locked in doing whatever they're doing. But if I'm around, oh, we got the goofball around, and I'll watch movies with or without them. But I just know that whatever movie I'm watching is gonna be good, and it's gonna draw them. And then next thing you know, like I'm like halfway, like in the middle of the movie, and they're like, "Oh, so what this movie about?" And I'm like, "Bruh." But because guess what? Because I love them, I'm gonna take the time. I pause it, and I'm gonna catch up because it's like the best thing is like also having friends doing things that you love. You know what I'm saying? And it's like now they're invested, and like because you love this and you also love your friends, you're gonna take time to explain. And so for me, it's like I pause the movie, and the movie can be getting good, man. Like I'm talking about like finger licking popcorn wings, like damn near like eating up, you know, good, like you know what I'm saying. And I'll take the time and stop and just like explain to them. And it's crazy. Like I get good with like summarizing like my movies. You know what I'm saying? Like to where it's like maybe like 5 minutes. Maybe 3 minutes, depending on how good the movie is. And they caught up, and now we like locked in. And it's like now I'm because of me, I'm able to see my brothers relax and rest. And that's another thing. Understand like your value and what you bring to your friends as well. The gifts that you carry as well, because everybody has a gift within them. And know that like if you're so invested in your friends and you're not really focused on, okay, like, well, how can I help my friends and just being me? Because that's literally what it is. I'm just being me. And like we watching movies and now they're watching me. And then they go like, Zay, like I'm like, that was good. I needed that. You know? And it's like, don't ever underestimate your gifts and who you are, you know? And I think that's why back to kind of like our opening is like, you have to have that time to yourself to figure out who you are.
No, I think it's interesting because I feel like I'm that friend for you.
You are. I'm not gonna lie. I was walking to here and I said, I know Erica fridge is lit right now, and you know I'm going dig in it.
Yeah, I feel like I've taken the role as being the friend that's like the safe space, whether that be like with your ideas, thoughts, and emotions, or just like physical space where it's just like my apartment is the place where you never leave, not fed.
Yeah, and
you know I just make sure that everyone feels a little warmer after seeing me, kind of thing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that time we went to BBQs. They were.
Oh wow!
Because I feel like your life has a lot of structure in a sense of like, you know, you're very dedicated to like the church and like all your photography stuff and like all the things you have going on. So when he hangs out with me, it's like
all of that's low-key out the window.
I was like, want to get BBQs? And you're like, yeah. And then here we go taking souvenir pictures, like old people at BBQs. And then I don't even know how it happened. We're walking through the city. I'm like, you want to go to the club? And you were like, I think so.
I ain't opposed to it.
I put one Texas-sized BBQ's drink. And we're at the club. We're like, we got synchronized dancing going on. We're talking to people. Oh my gosh, coming back.
Yeah,
we had a time.
No, it was a time. It was a time.
But yeah, so I feel like I'm that person for you, but at the same time, like you said, like you got to think about what you give to your friends because I see that when we hang out because I know that that's not something that you do often. Yeah. And for me, I'm just like, nice. Like they had a nice time. So like this is good. This is nice.
When you put it that way, that's actually like it's truth. I kid you not. There's actually been like within this time of me, just like in my thoughts and just like figuring out where I'm at. I kid you not. At least like 3 times you came up where it's like, Erica, can I come over? Like you know what I'm saying? And that is so important too. Like because for me, I am that person who always want to make sure people are okay and, and making sure people are doing it. And also making sure people are like elevating, making sure people are growing. Because I know it's tough. It's so tough in this world, and it's tough in this generation too, you know? And so like, for me, it's like, oh man, as long as they're having a good time, then I'm having a good time. But then it's like, you have to make sure, like, Zay, are you having a good time because you want to have a good time?
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, also like, just having that friend that just doesn't care, you know, about like everyone, and in a sense of opinions, right? Or just like, as long as you're good, then they're good. And I think that's you for me. And it's like, you don't care what I'm going through in the sense of like people, what, you know, like opinions or what I'm feeling, you know, towards others. As long as like you have a safe space, Zay, like, and you can come over, you can cook a lasagna. I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about that today when I walked in. That was some good lasagna.
Almost every guest has brought up my lasagna in some way, shape, or form.
Hey, hey,
speaks for itself.
Yeah. Wow, mouth getting watery. Pause. But no, yeah. So yeah, no. Erica is that person, and I even mentioned it like in the beginning of this podcast how Erica is that person who she makes sure people are okay, make sure her friends. Cause not she don't call everybody her friends, and that's why it's an honor to be called her friend as well, because I've been being able to see the literally the cycle and how you've had friends called friends and then no longer your friends, and it's just like I've actually been able to understand like, wow, like this is what friendship looks like, like in the sense of what friendship is, because we in a society like where everybody keep calling each other friends, is like that word friend actually lost its meaning, right? Where it's like, it's okay to call someone your acquaintance. Yeah. Right? But it's like, for me, like, and then it's like, because then like that best friend has that like next level, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, Allie and Dorian, those are my best friends. Those are my brothers, but like, in that kind of, they're my best friends. Yeah. Right? And so it's like, and also like, you don't have, and we don't have to see each other every week. We don't have to see each other like every month.
You and I see each other like 4 times a year.
Just about. Yeah. But every time we get together,
it's a great time.
A great time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I think like that's everyone has to at least seek into finding that one person, you know, or seeking that one. And we literally talk about everything. Yeah. Actually, I talk to you about things I don't tell my Christian friends. Well, I love y'all, but
stays right here.
You know, but yeah, Erica, you're a safe space, and I think that's something that you, and the fact that you even want to do a podcast for people who are struggling or like just like want to know what other 20-year-olds are thinking about. Yeah. So they can feel, man, like I'm not alone. Like that says a lot in itself already about you. And so
I mean, because I feel like that was one thing that I realized about myself. I'm very much an open book. Like I put everything all out on the table. Like I don't really care if somebody I just met on the street knows all of my nonsense from, you know, I guess 12 years old to up to at least like I would say like a year, 2 years ago. Cause like I don't want my recent stuff out there, you know? Yeah. But like I truly don't mind, because I think part of it has to do like in the same way that my mom with me is just like, you know, there's nothing that you've gone through that I haven't. I'm just like, well, if we're all around the same age, either you're about to go through something I went through, or, you know, I've already seen something that you might be going through or whatever. So it's like, I feel like I'm very open with just expressing like, so I was like, on my Instagram stories and stuff, or on my close friends, I'm always like, oh, so I was just thinking, you know, as I do. And then I always go into this thing of just like, I went through this experience and this is where my mind is going and I don't know what to do with it, but I need to say it out loud. Yeah. And then I feel like there are some people who might feel that way, but just aren't the type to put their stuff out there, who just don't want to speak on it or feel like it's too vulnerable of a thing to do. And for me, it's just like, well, there's probably like a really quiet 20-something-year-old who's like, I'm going through these things. Maybe you don't have any friends. Maybe you're just, you know, just made it down the rabbit hole on YouTube. And you're just like, whoa, like this is relatable. Like just to hear a voice that maybe sounds like yours or just around your age or, you know, whatever. I'm just kind of like, I feel, or even for like an older person to reminisce and be like, I remember thinking like that. Yeah. Like, I just feel like this podcast is just something that I want to capture the essence of 20-something-year-olds, early 30-something-year-olds, and just kind of like see where our brains are going, and almost like a time capsule for later. Like, I feel like this podcast can just hold so many ideas, thoughts, and all that's That's part of why I do it.
I'm glad I'm on it because years from now I can look back at this and just see the growth.
Imagine me looking back at the whole thing. I was so wrong. Like, screw friends, screw family. Like, no.
Fuck all of this. the lights, everything. No, but it's really like, because here's the thing is like you really be able to like to be there for your friends in all different stages of life, and like specifically dating in this season and dating in this generation. Y'all don't want me to talk about it because let me tell y'all, we'll be here.
That's a topic for another podcast episode.
We'll be here, but no, it's honestly it's a pleasure and it's an honor to be wanted on this. Because like this is literally us like off cameras.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just cool that we're able to now like share our conversations with those, and even as I'm like talking, I'm literally thinking about people that this will impact, and that I pray and hope it will impact, because the reality is like no one is meant to live life alone. It's just simple as that. You know, we were created to love and be with one another and care for one another, and it's just really more just like finding that right friend group where those right people. But because understand this, and I know we're gonna wrap this up, but understand this. You know, wherever you are right now, just know that it's literally it's for a season. It's for just a time. You have to go through it. You have to go through it in order to understand why you're going through it later on. Because when that moment when you like down the line and you're older, you're like, man, like why did I? Because sometimes you're like, why am I going through this? But then everyone has had that moment. I understand why. Now I understand why I had to go through that. But it's more beautiful when you do it with people, and just find those people, you know. And if you can't find those people, I'm right here. My Instagram is Grandpa Zay, GDPA_Zay.
It'll be in the description.
Yeah, you know, seriously, like, because when Erica told me that the whole meaning behind this podcast, I said I'm on there. I'm on there because I'm for the people. I love people, and I don't want people. It's crazy because like suicidal rates are so high right now, and it's hurting and it kills me. You know what I'm saying? Specifically, I also want to be out there be there for the men, you know, who's struggling with those thoughts and just what does it mean to be a man in this generation? How do you succeed? Hit me up. But I just want to say y'all love no matter what. Understand that, you know, and your life is valuable. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, the way that I knew that this would end with you preaching was crazy. I was so sure that this podcast was going to end that way. You started, I said, there you go. Everything he said holds weight, by the way. I'm not discrediting anything he said, but this is him. This is what he does. You could be drunk at the beach. Boy is preaching. Bro.
Hey, she ain't lying.
But with that being said,
yes.
Thank you for watching and listening wherever you watch and listen to podcasts. Please like, comment, and subscribe, or whatever service you're listening or watching on tells you to do to help out a little 20-something-year-old from New York City. Yeah, I'm not going to say any last words for you because you gave your last word.
Yep to my yap.
Yeah. All right, signing off. See you next week. Bye.